Welcome to Movie and a Beer, everybody. This is Dan bringing us in, and we have our awesome, wonderful friends and co-hosts with us on this wonderful Halloween Eve.
Or do we?
And we watched a scary movie.
We
Gentlemen.
This is Aaron. I'm your parka expert.
I'm Blake, and I know I'm real.
And I'm Brian. Maybe I'm a thing.
Oh, there you go. So we
watched Swamp Thing. No.
Swamp Thing. No, we watched The Thing, the John Carpenter 1982 remake of The Thing, which is based off of like a short story kind of thing. You
originally off the novella, and then they made a movie, The Thing from Outer Space, I think, from the 1950s.
Yes, and I've seen part of that.
Which they changed a lot more. They changed a lot more the story for that movie. This one's more accurate to the original novella.
Yeah. And that was in black and white, and this one is not in black and white. This one is full color. Lots of color.
But John Carpenter did make sure to have muted colors for everyone, so when the special effects popped up, they really stood out.
Yeah. I mean, the base of the story, we knew what we were going to watch.
Yes.
I stopped at John's Marketplace in Southwest Portland, down in Multnomah Village, and I found 3 beers that were collaboration beers, because having seen The Thing before, The Thing, it infects you and then duplicates you and absorbs you.
Sure does.
And that's like a collaboration. I totally did this without I was like, oh, hey, yeah, that makes sense.
It's a wonderful artistic moment that no one really planned, but it worked out really well.
It did. I originally just looked for cans that like breweries I knew that had interesting artwork and beers I had not had before. One of them I have had before, and the other 2 I had not. So we had 2 IPAs and a sour, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. But first, we're going to digress a bit into The Thing. So if you've not seen this movie, it was remade back in the 90s?
No, 2000 something.
Okay.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead was the lead. It's essentially a prequel.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
it actually, from what I've read, I haven't gotten around to watching it. The end of that movie leads into the beginning of this one with the Norwegians shooting at the dog, air quotes.
Yeah. So
and I guess we're going to spoil it because it's a 20-plus-year-old movie.
40-year-old.
Yeah.
40-year-old.
Anything over 20,
in 1982.
Anything over 20, I count as just...
It's 40, dude.
It's old.
This film came out before you were born?
Yeah, but I'm saying, what I'm trying to explain is, any movie that's 20 years old or more, there's no limits.
Yeah.
Like, you're good to
We're gonna talk about it in depth, because there's a lot of amazing practical effects.
This movie's so good.
I don't think there's any blue
suspenseful.
screen or green screen or anything. It was just all practical.
And no CG.
None.
Right.
None whatsoever.
And
Well, no, there was a computer program that showed the diagram of one cell ingesting and assimilating another cell. That
It was an old
8-bit
DOS
graphic.
program.
It was
Yeah,
an
it
old
was.
DOS, like 8-bit. It looked like asteroids. Not even as good as asteroids. Like,
Barely better than Pong.
it was like Pong on your Atari 2600 first generation, like crappy, like 8-bit.
But this is a tangent. It
Yeah. We're
has
going off.
very little to do with the movie.
Right.
Correct. So there's an alien spacecraft that the Norwegians discover in their Antarctic thing. They get taken They excavate. They pull
and-
something out of the ice, and they discover, oh, hey, this eats people. So they basically blow their camp up, and they chase the dog that got away.
the viewer, we don't see it unfold this way in the story, though. We just see the Norwegians are flying helicopters around trying to shoot a dog out on the ice sheet.
Yeah.
And the dog lives. The Norwegians don't. And so there's nobody available to talk to the American team that has their own camp. You know, I think they said it was 5 or 6 miles away.
Yeah.
Or no, it was like an hour by helicopter, I think. Yeah. But what they're trying to find out, you know, they want to go and save the Norwegian
This is
team.
in Antarctica, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, correct. And Antarctica. Sorry,
In the 80s with...
1982.
Yeah, with much... Not quite as top-tier technology as we have these days.
But they wanted to go and fly a helicopter
Yeah.
to save the rest of the Norwegian team because they
see what happened.
Yeah, see what happened. And so they get to that base, and it's
It's a cluster.
It's
it's
wrecked.
burnt out. It's a burnt out wreck. And part of it is just trying to figure out, well, what happened? What happened in that team?
And there was something that was still, well, it was in a clump outside in the snow, and it looked like it had been burned, but it was like they couldn't tell what it was. It had human features, but not quite.
Vaguely human-esque.
Yes. And they decided, hey, here's a smart idea. Let's take it back to our base. Not too smart.
Well, they got to figure out... Well, every good, quote-unquote, science team in any horror sci-fi movie is going to break science rules.
Yes.
Happens in Prometheus. It happens not as much in I guess Alien, yeah. But basically every sci-fi horror movie, a scientist has to be stupid, otherwise there's no story.
Well, that's not how they got infected. They didn't get infected from the corpse. They got infected from the dog.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't the autopsy of this vaguely human-esque biomass.
Although
like
when they put it away,
corpse.
when they put it away, it kept leaking and
There were two sources of infection. One was the dog, and one was the biomass. Because one of the guys was infected by the biomass
Yes.
in the storeroom.
Okay. Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
Yes.
There's a lot to keep track of.
There's a lot of different.
and they purposely don't tell you a lot of it, so you're left
Yeah.
wondering who is a thing, who's okay, who's human.
And that's one thing for this this alien life form is that it can assimilate and have the same appearance. It can mimic whatever other type of life form it's ingested. So it can have the appearance of a dog. We've been calling it a dog. It's not. But it also can do that with a human. So part of what I think is fascinating about this movie is the way that the trust in the group completely breaks down because nobody is sure who is still human and who's not. And the way that they try and, test that and the way, like, I would have thought, like, get a buddy system, don't ever be alone.
But
And,
then what if they're buddy with the thing, and now it's got two of the things?
Like,
Yeah.
it's too late for the buddy system, is what you're
Uh-huh.
saying.
If you're alone with the thing's going to win. It's
Yep, yep,
only
yep.
it's only in a group setting that you stand a chance because
Correct.
the thing
Yeah.
will not express itself.
Self-preservation.
Unless it's alone
And
in
we
the
are
dark.
we are pro thing here. I'm sorry that the thing
Yeah,
died.
we're thing apologists.
We're thing apologists because it's like the thing was just trying to live, and y'all just keep
Just trying to get home.
flaming it.
Dang
Just trying to
America!
survive.
Dang Americans getting drunk on J&B and lighting
Well,
our people on fire.
No, it crashed on this backwater planet in this inhospitable.
Right.
Like, yeah.
There are nuggets of clues. The thing only wants to build its spaceship and go home.
Yes, it
Right.
does.
And it's only killing to survive.
Didn't this come out the same year as E.T.?
Yeah,
Yeah. So basically, it's the same thing as E.T.
E.T.
They just want to go home.
I loved your crack, Brian, about how this is E.T. told in a different way.
It literally is. If you think about the story, how it parallels it, a lot of the film plays on humanity's inability to trust.
I almost wish we
What
knew.
a good tale for today.
Yeah,
Right.
I almost wish we knew if these guys knew each other before the station, because they only said second week of winter. But did they say how long they were there
No,
before?
all of that
Because the
is just
Norwegians were there
left.
8 weeks, and the captain said, like, that's not enough time to go crazy. And Niles was like, well, come on, man, like a week with Palmer, and it's already some, you know,
5 minutes with Palmer.
yeah, like some joking around with the guys, like, sure, but then that later turns into, well, maybe I don't trust you, maybe I've never liked you.
Well, in early scenes, they clearly are on each other's nerves already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
So
dude's playing
I'm thinking it's 6
music.
weeks into their tour.
that seems about right.
And they've got to stay over winter, so they're looking at 3 to 6 months of hanging with these a-holes.
And
Hanging
there
with the
was,
homies.
yeah, they had the VHS of the game show, and one of the characters said he'd seen it already, and so they spent long enough there that they're already like afraid, and they're already
Like they're-
running out of
they're-
entertainment.
yeah.
Their nerves are already on edge.
Right.
Yeah.
And now
an alien organism.
an
that,
alien
you
could
know,
be anybody.
Yeah, and it was them. That's the whole thing. It's like you don't know. Oh no, it's just one or two. No, half of them were already aliens by the time they figured it out. I'm just gonna spoil the crap out of that one.
No, that's fine.
There were a lot.
I loved how John Carpenter made sure you never really knew. Like the scene when the dog goes to that silhouette in the trivia, that's none of the actors. He got someone from else in the crew to be the silhouettes. You can't tell who it is. Because Kurt Russell's got that huge hair. Blair, I forget the actor's name.
Wilford Brimley.
Diabetes, yeah. Wilford Brimley. He's bald, so like clearly different head shapes.
Yeah,
Like you don't know. We got a few POV shots of something with the that wonderful music playing, where you don't know who it is. It's just slowly walking down the hall, looking around, getting assessed. Like, all right, where can I get my next victim? I don't like horror, and this movie is in my top 10. I love this movie so much.
Yeah, well, this movie is an intersection between horror, suspense,
Yeah.
and even drama.
it is. It's very dramatic. It has a lot of
And sci-fi. Even.
there's I mean there's sci-fi elements because there's alien and told the guys when we were watching it, and the first opening scene is the spaceship crashing, and we're like, I have no clue. I've not remembered that at all. I don't remember that in the first time I watched it.
That's because the most iconic scenes are the blood test, everyone freaking out, the dog scene, the dog transformation scene.
It doesn't even actually feel like it was like an hour and a half long.
No, it doesn't.
No, it's a very entertaining, enjoyable film.
Keeps you suspense driven and attention to the film.
The pacing on it was really, really well done.
Yeah.
The music, I think, was really, really well done. Most of the dialogue, most of the acting was really well done. And then, the practical effects, we were talking about that the whole movie, how well done those.
Talking about the music for just a second. So I noticed a lot of modern movies have score wall to wall. Yes. Just background
non-stop.
score. And this film has a very specific score, but it only shows up at certain times to highlight the suspense.
To heighten the tension. Yeah. And that was used to a good effect. Like it was very effective. Huh.
Yes.
And the rest of the movie is dry.
Yeah.
And something we noticed in the first scenes, there was a lot of handheld camera to kind of give us the feeling that it was almost documentary, that we were almost seeing something real unfolding.
Real time.
Kind of immersive,
And I think the music helps that. We're hearing the natural sounds of what this environment is like. We're there living it with these people.
It's more immersive. If there's not a score, it's more immersive, where you feel kind of you're like you're a fly on the wall.
You're right there.
I thought it was hilarious that they're using this VHS top loader, which I'm like, I know how to use one of those. I know how to set the time and date on those.
It always just says 12 o'clock, right?
Yeah, I dated myself really hard with that. I was like,
it's 12 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
So they did some rough recordings. The Norwegians, and I'm air quoting Norwegians.
You mean the Swedes?
The Swedes.
They're Norwegians.
They recorded on a video recording device, which went straight to VHS, some of the information of them discovering the ship and then digging out a thing of ice with the monster. And you're just like, why would they have done that? I'm just like, no.
They were thinking it's like a big find. Like, we're going to be famous for this.
They're documenting the scientific discovery of the year, of the century.
Right.
This is the problem I have with every freaking sci-fi movie. They live on Earth with other sci-fi movies. This shit has already happened. I've seen this in TV and in the movies. I don't want to do that.
I think it's the same rule as zombie movies, where no one ever knows a rule in a zombie movie. It's like it's as if there's no zombie culture. The closest they get is when Shaun the Dead references the Z word.
Yeah.
But I think it's the same rule where there aren't aliens. Like Independence Day, everyone's like, oh heck yeah, aliens, with no idea of like, oh. Like, if they had the day the Earth stood still, I don't think they would have greeted them as warmly as they did.
Not at all. And that's the problem I have, because, like, hey, these people, this is like 1982, and there's been plenty of sci-fi movies that have come out. Popular culture, if they're showing TV...
What was the Spielberg music-based one? Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Fourth Kind.
That was Third Kind. There was a different movie, Fourth Kind, I think.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
But Richard Dreyfuss, like, those were... peaceful aliens, right?
Yes.
Okay.
In a way.
So alien propaganda, pro-alien propaganda.
Lots of probing going on there.
To Dan, if I understand your criticism, if I can call it that, but is that you think the critique is that the characters should be aware of this kind of body of culture.
Yes.
And that they should identify the tropes and avoid them in the decisions that they make in the storyline, right?
Correct.
Like but they're also there vaguely in Antarctica to do science.
Right.
Like they're not going to not do science because they watched a movie.
Yeah.
Dan, you're fun to watch movies with.
So everyone has a role. Not everybody there's a scientist.
Think of the Swiss who dug up the Paleolithic hunter in the Alps.
Oh,
are you talking Encino Man?
No,
I love that movie.
I'm talking
we should watch that next.
real life.
The Neanderthal guy that had,
they dug up.
Yeah, and they found he had like.
Well, if you found an alien in the ice, you dig him up too.
Yeah, you would definitely want to analyze and study.
You might put him at CDC with certain guards.
You definitely would have hazmat suits, which they did not in this movie. They didn't have proper cold weather gear in this movie either.
Barely had rubber gloves for autopsy.
I was like, oh yeah, we talked about that as we're watching. We're like, oh, that's so fake. It's like, oh, the director was like, oh, they wear goggles in the Antarctic. Oh, and somebody ran down to the fucking convenience store.
Got swim goggles.
And got swim goggles or some shit. And we're just like, what the? Oh my god, this is so cheap. I mean, you blew all your money on the practical effects and
15 million. A nice little chunk of change over a typical horror movie, which is maybe 7.
But that's 1982, 15 million.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of practical effects, for just a
1.5 of it went towards the practical effects alone.
Yeah,
they're amazing. See this movie just for the prosthetics and
lots of
and puppetry.
Lots of slimy air hoses that are flopping around.
Yeah, but I mean, it
and stomach mouths opening up and chopping down.
At the time, this was
cutting edge.
Cutting edge. And even now, I mean, it would be hard to find somebody to do practical effects this well.
Yeah.
Right. I was just thinking, like, the way that, like, some of the alien life form would, like, morph and change shape, and then, like, there would be, like, crab legs that would, like, pop out of a skull or something like that. How you set that up and how you make that work, like how you engineer
a lot of stop motion.
Without CG.
Like the tentacles towards the end, those were a little stop motion-y, very smooth, but it looked a little
very
bit
well
like
done. They would never do this today without CG.
Oh,
God, they put CG on guns. It's annoying. So this was shot in Los Angeles because they had sound stages that they had to refrigerate down to 40 degrees.
To get fake snow?
To get the fake breath, to get the breath.
Oh, to get the breath showing up.
Yep.
I was going to say, I didn't see any snow melting. I didn't see any mud. I didn't see anything. I'm just like, okay, it's cold enough, stuff stays frozen. And if it's 40 below zero, any exposed skin freezes on
in like 2 minutes.
Contact.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, them running around without face stuff on and like the very opening, like you see Kurt Russell come out of his little shack and he's wearing a t-shirt. A t-shirt. I'm just like, oh, he'd be dead.
Right.
It's like, okay. I mean, if you can suspend and get beyond that.
Hell yeah, I can. I love suspending disbelief for stuff like that. This movie's amazing.
This is a great film to watch.
Very entertaining.
I'm curious.
I've seen it 4 or 5 times, still enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it's a good film.
I'm curious. Aaron, you haven't seen this before today.
Correct.
What did you think, even with our Mystery Science Theater jabs occasionally, and you're having watched more recent television?
So for the listener, just so you know, when we watch a movie, it can be hard to immerse yourself in that movie because there's the constant barrage of jokes and bullshit.
Look at Dan. I talked to Brian quietly because we've seen it already.
So just understand if you're expecting the experience of like you're going to watch a movie and completely get absorbed in it. Like there's going to be a running commentary from the peanut gallery.
A little bit on this one, a little bit.
Please, hazelnut gallery.
But Filbert gallery. No,
hazelnut.
But no, it was a good movie. Kind of interesting story. I kind of I like where like the direction that it took in terms of how the plot moved and how it unraveled. I mean there are clearly some parts of the movie are a little bit I think dated. With the way, communications, computing technology, I think even flight has changed. And for me, growing up in a cold weather climate, like I know about parkas, I know the things that they would be wearing. And that was hard for me to be like, he's wearing a flight jacket that like he would die in 2 minutes like that. No, but there's a lot to like in this movie too. I think the way that the characters were portrayed and the way that their trust with each other kind of eroded and the way that the characters responded to the situation and developed that had like an unusual level of like attention to detail or thoughtfulness as compared to a lot of other horror movies. And so like I think it was really well done that way. I'm always I think most interested in like characters and what's the the psychological what are the relationships with each other and all of that and like this had some meat on the bones.
This was the biggest horror thing was you can't trust your friends. Mm-hmm. I'm glad we liked it. Critics hated it when it came out. Yeah. They tore it to pieces. They're like, this is just another schlock fest. This is awful. And John Carpenter took it really hard. And then later. Luckily, he was validated because people realized, looking back, oh, this is actually very well made.
This
is well done.
Everybody likes this film.
Yeah, Yeah,
I mean,
regardless, one,
it has aged very well.
Yeah.
In spite of the communications,
Computer
not,
banks.
Yeah, it's not evergreen, but it still has an audience.
Yeah.
People remember this film fondly. Oh yeah, The Thing.
I got to see it on a big screen a few months ago. Regal Cinema's like thing where they show like old movies on big screens. Like I got to watch it like in a theater, and it was a blast.
I will say, like, I do feel like maybe I missed out a little bit because I didn't see this with my cousins when I was like 12 or 14. I didn't see this in the late 80s or, like when
I didn't see it till maybe 2000 when I was just in a big watch old movies binge.
But no, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Oh.
So we also talked a little bit about how it ends. Because
Yeah.
it ends and
There's-
you're just left hanging.
Doop,
You're
doop.
like, what?
On the music, it kicks in when Childs drinks the liquor.
Correct.
Which could be a hint as to his status. You also don't see any of his breath.
I
You
was
see
watching
Kurt
for that,
Russell's
yeah.
lots and lots. It's really obvious, and Childs is just no breath coming out.
He had kind of a bullshit excuse for where he was.
Uh-huh.
Also. Yeah.
Yeah, you just never know.
So the end of the film,
But it's still left very vague. Doop.
a lot of horror films leave you with a idea that maybe it's not quite over.
Yeah, like a hand coming out of the lake. You're in Freddy's Nightmare at the end of Friday Nightmare on Elm Street. That kind of thing.
Yeah, but the hero, the antagonist, still kind of got away. There's still some hope.
You don't know if he's not an alien. I mean, at that point, because
this
we don't,
film,
So we the thing is like, okay,
The Thing?
Let's talk for a moment
Is
about
that the name of the movie?
the timing and the time lapse and the time jumps that occur while they're at the base. Because dude dug a freaking tunnel down underneath Kurt Russell's his character Shaq.
Yeah.
But if he could grow a dog head out of his arm and have the dog just gnaw on the snow to go through, like you could do that in like 2 nights.
yeah.
So that's the thing is
And
like
he had a half-built spaceship, too.
yeah. And I'm like, how long were and they don't and that was asked while we were watching. It's like,
Yeah.
how long were they not paying attention in this and that? And
It's
like,
unclear, like the passage of time, like how much time had
I
it
think
gone,
it's 2 to 3 days, the entire events of the movie. But again, it's vague.
It's very
They
vague.
leave you wondering, because that's how it would be in real life. If like our friend group got infiltrated and we all start wandering off, it'd come back like, I don't know if anyone else is still human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the doctor played a very interesting role in that they left him alone on his own, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they just want to survive," and they figured out at the end, it's like, "Oh, he's going to come kill us all or absorb us because or collaborate with us." Oh, you see what I did there?
Dude.
Collaborate, as these beers did, and we do have beers to talk about too. I'm trying to wrap this segment up.
Yeah, I would get more into the ending, but there's so much in this post credit, like in the trivia theories. It's most of the spoiler part is just people theorizing about it.
Yeah.
and John
So
Carpenter kind of just
the end of
leaves
the film, to follow up on my previous theory, it's not real hopeful
No,
for a variety of reasons.
It's
Yeah.
ambiguous, but ultimately
We're pretty sure that the thing is still there.
Yeah.
and yet to be rescued, and then take 1,015 something.
Take
A lot of a
3
distance.
years.
3 1/4 years
3-ish years
to
to take over
infect
the
the
whole
entire
planet.
world.
Yeah, because I mean the thing
yeah.
is
Yeah.
it can take over any living creature.
But
does that include insects? And
But
birds?
he doesn't want to.
Squirrels?
He's trying to build a spaceship to get the out of Earth.
yeah.
Who the wants to stay here?
Not
Right.
it, because it thinks it's cold. It thinks the whole thing is
Yeah.
cold. And
Why would he want to be here? He
But
just wants to get
well,
home.
but of course-
just
you don't
like
know
E.T.
But it's a
Yeah,
comment
exactly
on
like E.T.
It's exactly like E.T.
it's a comment though on
Cuddly
the
thing.
on the human mindset though to assume like it's not just going to try and repair its ship. It's not going to just try and get home. It's going to take everything we have. It's going to kill us all. Like that's got, I think, kind of an instinctual, fearful response that feels very human. But Brian, you're right. That the thing wasn't trying to take over the planet. It was just trying to get home.
You don't know that.
And the doctor had
All right,
theorized.
Blair,
it-
take it easy.
the doctor had theorized in his notes that this thing may have eaten other planets in the past, but there's no evidence for that. We couldn't possibly know.
And it does replicate, but does it maintain the same intellect? And that's one of the things. Oh, it's starting to build a ship, and they're all looking at it like, what the heck is this? And oh, it's kind of a ship, but they don't, how the hell are they going to know? Okay, yeah, it looks like a little saucer thingy, but okay, yeah, I that's a plot hole that I'm going to argue.
Well, maybe it was just a alien hot tub.
I know, right? Hot tub time machine.
It was building a bed. It just needed to sleep.
I don't know.
Why didn't the thing go back to the original spaceship that was crashed? Like you could repair that.
Easy repair. I mean, they only threw dynamite down into it.
Maybe it was just enjoying a tasty beverage like we did.
Oh my gosh, we did enjoy a tasty beverage.
It could have been making an alien brewery to make some delicious alien beer.
Yes. All right. So
I don't know if I like it when it's overly ham-handed or when Dan misses it and we keep talking.
Yeah. So
I hate both of them.
We're gonna take this moment to
hey, Blake,
say,
let's talk about beer.
There you go. Nice, organic, clean,
thanks
easy.
for hanging out, everybody. This is Movie and a Beer, and we're talking about The Thing.
Doot.
Which is an amazing old film from the early 80s. It was a remake from the 50s that was based off a short story written in the 30s.
Yep.
We had 3 beers to go along with this film. The intent was to go seek out beers that I was familiar with the breweries and just wanted to find something new. And I ended up buying 3 collaboration beers, which, this alien takes you over and collaborates with you. It takes your intellect and knowledge.
A collaboration leaves you with some agency.
Although I've had nights after drinking too many collaboration beers, and I felt like how the thing looks the next morning.
It was pretty rough.
Dan, tell us about our beers.
All right, so the first one that we tried...
Why not me? I can make stuff up.
Was a West Coast IPA collaboration between Matchless Brewing and Varietal Beer Company, and it's called Future Beach. Future Beach is a West Coast IPA. It's about 7.8% ABV. So it's a little bigger. It's not quite imperial. It's not quite a double, but it is big. And this is sort of a tropical hazy IPA that has Eldorado, HBC 586, Yukonot, and Talus for the hop profile. So this is a really sort of traditional, but not super heavy, big New England juicy. Even though it just says West Coast, it's a West Coast juicy IPA, which I found quite interesting. If you read the can, it talks about that a little bit. It says, hey, we're just trying something new here.
Does it really say it that casually?
Yes.
Nice. I love when cans do that.
They're like, oh, hey, here's a beer. Try it. We're trying something new.
I think this is my favorite of the 3. Spoilers for our third beer. I'm not a huge fan of smoothies, and the second one was okay. This first one, though, after it started warming up, the flavor wasn't quite what I was used to.
Yeah.
I agree. I like the first one better. I thought it was kind of crisp.
Yeah, I'd say crisp.
And I don't know if it matched the film very well, but it was enjoyable to drink, just as the movie is enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the can art. So if you've seen the poster for The Thing, the reason I picked this beer is the can art has this kind of like hole above the name that kind of looks like the sun or something, and then this color swirly radiant stuff. And if you've seen the movie poster, it's exactly the same thing.
The poster is an like a submarine or astronaut outfit with
Did you say the name of the beer, Dan?
Yes, it's called Future Beach.
Thank you.
So you can find this, like I said, I went to John's Marketplace in Southwest Portland. They have one in Southeast. They probably have it at both locations. Matchless and Varietal Beer Company collaboration. Quite nice. I actually thought
the McCready and the Blair of the beer companies.
Correct. I think this one went better than the second one we had.
Yeah. I like the second one, but I think this one was better match.
Yeah. The second one that we had was also an IPA, but it wasn't a hazy. It was just a standard IPA. And this IPA was called Specific Void. And it's a collaboration between Fremont Brewing out of Seattle and Burial Brewing out of North Asheville, North Carolina, of all places. East Coast to West Coast.
Cross country.
And I picked this beer simply because it has the heron that Fremont Brewing uses as its logo, but it has a bunch of eyes on it and a bunch of wings.
It looks like a biblically accurate angel.
It does. It's super creepy.
Oh, yeah.
But it also looks like the Thing midway through transition.
Yeah, it's part dog, part Blair, all eyeballs.
It ate it first heron.
Beautiful can art.
It's beautiful.
The Thing set in Oregon. I'll write it.
So Fremont Brewing doesn't do crazy can art, whereas Burial Brewing does a lot of really crazy can art and interesting things related to different ways of killing people. So that's why
they won that conference call, is what you're saying.
So the symbol has like it has like a sickle and a hammer,
pitchfork,
and an axe. It's like it's their logo has a psi a grain
Sieve.
sieve
Yeah.
that you.
Well, something I was going to ask, Dan. I know you're an expert with the making of the beer itself. Do you know what goes into meetings when it's a collaboration as far as the art? Because I imagine they both say, hey, I want to use these kinds of hops. Yeah, let's use these kind of grains, and let's figure out a flavor profile we want. But for the art, is that a different part of the company, I guess? Or
Yeah,
Usually
that's
they just-
marketing department.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
marketing
Yeah.
department. They usually just say one or the other company will say, "Hey, we're doing this," and then they'll do
Okay.
some concepts. They'll probably
Cool.
pick out of the different concepts, and simply because this was probably someone from Burial who's like, "Oh, hey, yeah, Fremont, and this heron that's got like 8 wings and 20 eyes and looks super creepy. Yeah, let's do that." And
Yeah,
I think they've done a really good job because it's silver can with the label that got put onto it is clear, except for the design and then some black print. So it stands out really, really well, and that's what I was drawn to it because I was like, "Oh, the thing! Oh, yeah, this
yeah,
is
it's a
like
very
something to
nice
think
can
over."
art.
yeah.
Extremely nice.
So the beer itself is about like 7.5 ABV. It's piney, grassy, herbal. It's got a kind of Chinook forward pine grapefruit kind of almost spice to it on the mid. It's a little sharper, as you guys mentioned.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of danky fruit backness to it. And it's
I
an IPA.
tasted a
It's
little
not-
chocolate in there.
Okay.
Yeah, on my first sip. But
It's pretty bitter, so that's not.
we know my
unsurprising.
palate sucks.
Your palate's fun.
It's wacky.
It's very full bodied. This is not neither of these are beginner beers. They're both pretty strong flavors.
Yeah.
They're pretty high in alcohol. They're over 7%. So
This one lasts longer better. Like, I'm still sipping on it because we forgot how short this movie is. We were just sitting there watching it like,
Yeah.
this is amazing. Oh, man, what's going to happen next? The movie's over.
Last couple of sips of the first can were a little
not so good.
Like,
not so good for me.
like
Didn't-
not sour, but like...
yeah, it was sour. It
Sour?
felt-
Okay.
Didn't do good when it warmed up.
But
Okay,
this
so
this
yeah.
one holds out pretty well.
Yeah.
It's still sipping, and it still tastes pretty good.
So there you go. Different beers react different ways as they warm up.
Before we get to the third smoothie beer, Aaron, you're still sticking to your no beer your beer sabbatical. Sabirical.
no alcohol. Till
So
Thanksgiving.
how was what'd you have?
he had a Schweppes again.
Oh, I just had a tonic water again.
Did it go all right with this movie, or would you say like nothing would work for this movie?
That's an interesting question. So the tonic water didn't freeze my balls off, like Antarctica. So,
And it didn't assimilate you like a thing.
and it didn't strike me as like an alien thing. I'll have to think about like what.
If you could pick any drink to go with the thing,
Yeah,
what would you pick?
Because Hellraiser, I wouldn't want to drink anything, but this, I could pick some stuff to sip along with it.
Well, I'm wondering if a
Like a
strong
7-Eleven slushy.
No,
Would that work?
what I was thinking is like a
gosh.
lime margarita.
Oh, yeah.
Like a lime margarita might be what I'd choose because the acidity and the citrus, but then also the slushy and the cold from the
Yeah.
like that might
reflective of the
be.
Antarctic.
And then
conditions.
one of our characters was drinking some J&B.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Before I poured it on a computer.
because he lost the chess game.
That always blows my mind. He just goes, bitch, and just pours it right in the
He says
motherboard.
cheating bitch is what he
Yes.
said.
It's
Yeah,
It's like,
but,
God, McCready, take it easy, bud.
but
Doesn't
no, I
like
think
computers.
I would get like a really tart citric margarita is what I would choose.
Interesting. I like it.
Awesome.
McCready rage quits when he plays online. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, he does. This amazing third beer that we tried. I liked it. It was
Speaking of tart and
Yeah.
sour.
sour.
So this is a
and
smoothie
kinda
sour.
South American feel.
So this is a collaboration between Brix
Nothing's
City.
more South American than Antarctica.
So this beer traveled across the country. This came from Brix City Brewing out of New Jersey and Abomination Brewing out of Connecticut.
Oh,
so
cool.
Abomination is who actually claims to put it out. And the can art is like a skeleton being eaten by bugs in a blender with a bunch of different citrus fruits around it.
Let
And
me
then
see that. I haven't seen that yet.
And then it says, make sure it's dead, make sure it's dead, make sure it's dead. In
Wow.
big letters. So the whole thing with this...
Ken art's amazing.
It's really amazing. That's why I got it. I was like, oh, you guys don't
Good
like
Lord.
smoothies. You guys don't like smoothies, but I'm willing to try this. And this one isn't like...
I like
what,
smoothies.
What most smoothie beers that we have had over the last year or two, This one is a little bit thinner, didn't have as much pulp, didn't have as much thickness to it.
Which I did like. The thing I don't like about the smoothie beers is how thick and chunky it is.
Correct. And I mentioned to the guys when I was doing research for this, I discovered, so I'm talking about, I poured it into a small glass, and the small glass does have a whole lot of particulate matter. So there are some, I guess you would say, fruit bits in there. Mm-hmm. It's not filtered at all. It's pretty thick. So this is made with soursop, SOURSOP, which is again, two of the fruits that it's made with are from Central and Southern America that you don't see in the U.S. in beers ever. I've never seen them.
Pink guava?
It's a combination of strawberries and apple with a sour citrus flavor note. That's the soursop. And the second one is Curuba, Curuba.
Yeah.
It's like a hybrid of a passion fruit and peaches. And that's what the fuzziness is, along with the pink guava that it was made with. Tongue coater. So it's going to have that thickness. It's going to have...
Is it like
a lot of
tannin?
tart. Yeah.
Okay.
Almost dry tanninic. It wasn't sweet at all. I didn't get any sweetness from this beer. It was just really medium body tart.
The second thing you said was Curuba?
Yes.
Jamaica? Oh, you want to make it to Bahama?
Oh my gosh, really? Give it up already. All right, so we just opened one can of this and
Blake's
split
in the
it.
future Beach Boys.
Yeah.
All right, so thoughts on this beer?
The
I mean, I know you guys...
Inlet fellas.
I would totally agree. We said when we poured it and smelled it and tasted, we're like, oh, this doesn't go with the Milvey at all because it's like...
I almost would say pour like a shot worth and then drink it as you watch the ship go down to throw off your taste buds for whatever else you have, because you see the ship flying and then forget about it because they don't reference the ship until
the Norwegians.
Yeah, the Swedes. That's a running
Swedes.
joke about McCready and not being racist towards Nordic people.
No, not at all.
I love them. They're great. Probably.
All right,
I don't think I know any.
Brian, you are the fairly newer person to the sour smoothie environment. What are your thoughts on this one?
It was okay. It didn't go with the movie. That's clear. It was okay. You know, I've had some other sours and smoothies that I really didn't like. This was okay.
It wasn't offensive.
It wasn't offensive. It was drinkable. It was fine. I wouldn't pick it off the shelf myself, but it was okay.
Did you like it more because it wasn't sweet? Like it didn't have a sweeter, fruity, like it didn't have the sugar sweet fruitness? Like,
it wasn't really heavy in any way. It wasn't heavy in either the sour or the smoothie.
Okay.
I would also say it didn't really... It wasn't a beer.
It was more beer-like than others.
It was beer adjacent.
It was beer adjacent. It was more like it really was
I'm
like
drinking some thin fruit juice
I went to
cocktail.
Jamba Juice and got something that wasn't very cold.
You walked in before
Correct.
it finished assimilating the beer, showing some disgusting beer smoothie hybrid with tentacles and shrieking and that noise going on.
Okay, so collaboration beers. I mean, I totally just serendipitously picked these out. I did it partially from the can art and simply because, hey, I want to do some different beers that I've... the Future Beach, the first one that we had, I think, from Matchless and Varietal, was the best of the three that went with the film. We sat there, and it's a tall boy, and it's actually not that expensive. It's like $4.50-$5 per can. That's not bad for tall boy, for, microbrewery. And I think if they had a fresh hop version of this, that would have made it even more exciting. But they don't.
It would have been pretty good.
So I'm saying that simply because I would add more vegetal flavor and more robustness to it. I think this one was really thin from a hop standpoint. It had some bitterness to it, but it wasn't super IBU heavy. It doesn't have an IBU reading on it, but it does talk about, West Coast IPA, but it still had a little hint of that New England haziness to it. So it was a hybrid style, or just a mishmash, or a collaboration. Oh my gosh, here we go. I did it again.
Well, if we wait long enough, Antarctica will be a future beach too. So
it will.
Yeah.
That might be a million or 2 years from now, but yes. Now, or 10,000. I mean, who knows? Oh. Any other thoughts on the movie before we close this out?
I mean, when you listen to this, it'll probably be a little late for Halloween, but if it starts getting snowy where you are, perfect snowed in movie to watch. Yeah. When you're trapped with all your friends and family in a single
for November.
Yeah. No, take a Saturday, cuddle up on a couch, grab a blanket and, a couple beers. Like this would be a fun movie for just, fun weekend viewing.
It's not crazy long. It's some terrific early Kurt Russell acting.
There's only a slight moment of nudity, and then a slight moment, not even real nudity. It's just like kind of partial nudity.
When was
and
the nudity?
I don't
when
think
the
there
guys
is any
were in
nudity.
when the guys were coming out of their rooms.
The first alarm, somebody was full nude.
underneath. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
was
notice.
like,
You saw a male frontal nudity.
Is that why guys
Oh.
started breathing really heavy?
I was like, what was that? And then there's like just a little bit of language, but again, not any worse than anything else.
This is not a movie I'd recommend to anybody under the age of 12, though. Like,
That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
No,
this is a
Let's have kids
high
have
school
nightmares over
age.
huskies.
Yeah, high school age,
There-
and
there-
dogs
there
do
was
get
some-
killed.
Yeah,
so-
there's some.
Yeah.
It's clearly not animal cruelty. Like
Horror things.
real animal cruelty.
no
There's a movie.
nudity.
you feel sorry for the dogs.
Yeah.
yeah.
Very little adult language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of shooting and blowing stuff up.
Some
And-
drug and alcohol references.
Yeah, not too bad though.
Not too bad.
I don't know. I think we all give it a thumbs up on that one.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
As far as beer, again, you should just find something you're going to enjoy. I think just finding something you like and you know you're going to like, because you don't necessarily want to be distracted from what's going on the screen, even though there's nothing you're really going to miss.
I've seen this movie like 10 plus times, and I'm still tonight was watching like, all right, so what are they doing? Where are they going? Who could it be? Are they giving away anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some great stuff. So, any thoughts on the movie before we close out, or these beers? You guys have any ideas on suggestions for other beers?
If you speak Norwegian, you might get a minor spoiler.
Dan, put in
Oh,
some
yeah,
foley.
yeah, yeah.
Put in some
Aaron-
foley of Brian splitting open and shrieking as you're all like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, it's the thing!"
Yeah, so the beginning has the Norwegians landing their copter and running after the animal that they were chasing, which is one of the dogs that they kept, and it gives away the whole movie if you speak Norwegian.
Right, which I didn't. My Norwegian is not like I studied Norwegian when I was in college. It's not proficient enough that I had real spoilers. All I heard is like that's a thing, and I was like, well, okay, all right.
Didn't quite get it.
I didn't hear all the other stuff they were
I
saying.
can't find it because this movie has so much trivia. It takes forever to scroll through all of it. But they say in Norwegian, get away from it. It's an imitation of a dog. It's not a real dog. It's a thing. Get away from it, you idiots. And people, when they first watched it, who spoke Norwegian, were like, "Well, way to give it away, bud! Like, it's John Carpenter. He's not going to make up a language."
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, Brian, any thoughts on beers or this film other than thumbs up?
It's a great film. It's well worth watching again if you haven't seen it for a while. If you've never seen it, it's a classic.
It is. It's very much a classic. And apropos to the Halloween season, which we're on Halloween weekend here, so
Woo.
I think it was a good choice for us to watch. We're closing in on our 100th episode. We'll probably do something special for that. But as always, we want to thank you for listening and all the opinions expressed during the taping of this recording. And those are the hosts. We really want to thank you again for hanging out and listening and being willing to hear us digress about fun and interesting things. And I don't know. Thumbs up for everybody.
Yeah,
And,
if you don't hydrate,
beer.
you'll dihydrate.
You
In this
will.
case, dehydrating means you're going to get your skin flayed open and tentacles will fly everywhere.
or you'll just freeze in the Antarctic, something like that.
Freeze to death with an alien.
dude,
No hope.
No hope.
dude.
That sounds
Dude,
like a
dude.
Star Wars movie. No
Dude,
hope.
dude.
All right,
Dude,
so this
dude.
is Dan singing. Thank you for hanging out with us on
Dude,
this
dude.
episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.
This is Aaron. Thank you for listening, and thanks for being a real person.
This is Blake saying, "Yeah, I'm totally real. I'm just digging this tunnel for no particular reason." Screech.
This is Brian. Thanks for listening one more time.
Make sure it's dead. Make sure it's dead.
Make sure it's dead.
Yes.
Dude.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Dude.